So it's funny, we did this with the corners and the safeties where we went, where's everybody playing? Everywhere. Apparently that applies to everyone who is not a true freshman in Ohio State's offensive line room. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, and that's Andrew. We talked with Tyler Bowen and literally every offensive lineman on the roster. In fact, I mean, if I don't know if Maxwell Riley was in the building, we may have talked with him as well. And Stefan, you were at Austin Siereveld. I want to use him to paint a bigger picture of what it seems like Tyler Bowen's philosophy is, because Tyler Bowen said that Austin Siereveld is literally playing every position but center right now. Obviously, that won't continue in the fall camp, but how's that going, and what's the value of the cross-training in the spring for a group that is trying to figure out what its best five is?
Yeah, Tyler Bowen talked about, this cross-training idea not necessarily being a new idea for him, right? Like, it's stuff that he's done in the past, most recently as the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. But as applies to Ohio State specifically, I think guys like Austin Siereveld have bought into it because they saw it last year, right? Like, it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to see it. And he was talking about 2 All-Americans going down with injury. Obviously, Seth McLaughlin and then Josh Simmons, and Donovan Jackson has to move to left tackle after Zed Mahalski gets hurt. You know the story by now. It's a big part of the championship run that they had. But Austin Siereveld saw it in practice. He saw himself have to play left guard and right guard. He saw Donovan Jackson have to move from guard to tackle. So if that's possible, if that's a way to get on the field, Ohio State's going to train their guys for that. And it's easy to get guys to buy in because they've seen it in practice. But Austin Siereveld is a living example of that, just because when we came into the spring and we were doing our depth chart projections and all this stuff, we were talking about, okay, does he slot in at left guard or does he slot in at right guard? Because he's done both for you. Does he stay kind of this rotating piece? And then we show up to that first practice and he's lined up at left tackle, and we're like, oh, that's new. And it's that positional flexibility that Ohio State's emphasizing, and he is kind of the poster child for it now. So he seems like he's having success at left tackle. We've only seen him at left. He said that he's actually been 50-50 between left tackle and right tackle, so that goes to Tyler Bowen's point of he is just playing everywhere except center. And I think if you're an Ohio State fan, I think this is a good thing in the sense that Austin Siereveld is probably one of the 5 best offensive linemen on this team. So when we talk about put your 5 best guys out there, put your best 11 out there, offense or defense, whatever the conversation is, his flexibility lets him be that. If Ethan Owinyawa, who transferred from Rice, isn't there by week 1, why not Austin Siereveld at left guard or left tackle? If Phillip Daniels or Ian Moore isn't there at right tackle come week 1 when you're playing Texas, why not have the guy that just played against Texas? He played against, and he was injured one of the playoff games. So maybe he was out.
He just played significantly less snaps in that Texas game.
Yeah, that's when we kind of saw Luke Montgomery break out. But like, Austin Siereveld gives you something that wherever you need him, you can slot him in, and I think that's very important. Also, Carson Hinsman told us that Austin Sierveld's nickname is Piggy. Like he was asked about Carson Hinsman or about Austin Siereveld and just said Piggy, and we were like, what? Like, no, we have never heard him called that before. Apparently, it was his Fortnite username at some point. So he's got a funny nickname, and he can play 4 of the 5 spots on the offensive line. No wonder he's an Iron Buckeye.
We should have just went, hey, Austin, what position are you playing on the offensive line? He would have been, yes. That's just what he's playing here.
Why don't we just call it Piggy? Playing any spot. We'll call it Piggy.
Pass.
Accept.
Using that again, that idea, Austin Siereveld being one of your best 5. Or what if he's the second best option at all 5 spots, especially the guard spots and the tackle spots? Tyler Bowen also got asked about that idea of rotating, which I know you've been against, but that doesn't matter right now. We're worried about what they might do. Did you leave today, and it's spring, we have 4 or 5 months till they play football, thinking because of what they're doing with Austin Siereveld, maybe he's not a starter, but he's like a co-starter everywhere. Could Ohio State realistically be putting themselves in a position where the rotating last year was out of a need to do it because they were out of options, versus this year it's being done out of a place of strength, where maybe Austin Siereveld isn't the starter, but he's constantly out there and he's playing 30 to 40 snaps per game because of it?
I think so. There's a quote in one of my favorite movies, Miracle, where Herb Brooks is on the glass doing all this stuff, and he goes, "What are we creating?" And all one of the players go, "Options." I think that's what they're creating in spring practice. Options. Because then when you get to fall camp, you can maybe solidify that. So maybe, this becomes, hey, he's got training at left tackle, left guard, right tackle, water boy, everybody, anything we need him to do, he could do it. But now that we're in fall camp and we're solidifying it, we actually need him at left guard. We actually need him at right guard. We actually need him to be our backup tackle. Whatever it is, I think that is one of the things that is very important that you were creating. So, yeah, there was another thing that Tyler Bowen said when we were talking to him, somebody asked him about rotating, and he said, at my last stop, I didn't do it, and then he did do it sometimes. And one of the things he said was, we had a lot of guys deserving to play. And that was under the context of we were not solidified on the offensive line. So I think there's two things, and it kind of takes two to tango there, because when you're talking about what you want to do on the offensive line in terms of rotating, if you have a great offensive line, you better have great backups, because those backups have to push to play. If you have a great five and those five are playing, at a level where you're looking at it going, hey, this is a Joe Moore award, blah, 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 those backups had better be pushing. So I think that is the key right now. In spring practice, Ohio State is looking at this going, we have Austin Siereveld who could play X amount of positions. We have all these guys who can play X amount of positions. And when you do create those options, you give yourself a lot of leeway when you get to August, and then more importantly, when you get to November, December, January.
For the record, I was not rolling my eyes at Andrew. All that was an astute point. I'm watching people try to push a sled right now, and they're failing at it, miserably failing at it. Not the way the offensive line does. They do a pretty good job at it as well. As you mentioned, Tyler Bowen has done it before. So, again, these are all things he's open to, and this is also the guy who is essentially in charge of orchestrating Ohio State's run game, alongside Brian Hartline, who's going to be calling plays for you. We'll continue to discuss this on Buckeye Talk. We're not going to be pushing offensive line sleds because we don't need to know that we'll fail at that. We already know, but get the text 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, that's Andrew. See you later.